This plan I don't think is gonna work. And I don't want to talk to you about Faith because Faith is really happy. She wants to come to America, but I could never afford to sponsor Faith with a K-1 visa. It's not gonna work.
Loren's dream of living in the Philippines, faking a relationship with Faith in order to live here permanently, is crashing and burning before his very eyes. But his reaction to this news has left Faith fearing for her safety. She's literally worried about what he might be about to do to her.
But I'm scared. You know, I'm shaking actually. I'm not expecting for this. I don't want to see it anymore. To see it. And it's over.
And just like that, a day after proposing to her, they're done, finished. Faith wants nothing more to do with this creep. Hallelujah. But before we dive into that, let's rewind to the start. So we left the pair in the aftermath of the unthinkable. They'd got engaged. Faith had said yes to the biggest mistake of her life. But as for Loren, well, his ulterior motives have been clear from the start. He's only interested in marrying her so that he can get a visa and stay in the Philippines, which is precisely why when we join them the next morning, he's in a mad rush to try and expedite everything.
But I'm hoping I don't have to go back to the US. So me and Faith, we're going to go see an immigration lawyer to find out the best way for me to stay in the Philippines with Faith forever.
Loren's flight home is booked for tomorrow, and yet somehow, seriously, he thinks that there's a chance he might not have to go back. Don't forget, this is a guy who's prepared to go to extreme lengths not to have to go back. He came here hoping never to go back. He's desperate never to have to go back.
But I know you don't want me to marry some other woman, right? But what if I don't just marry any Filipina? What if I just marry your mom?
What?
Yeah, just you wait. The lawyer's like, oh, marry the mom.
No, I don't like it.
If this all works out, we go to Thailand and we get married.
Even the way he says that, the way he laughs at his deranged idea that makes Faith so uncomfortable, shows how little he cares about her feelings. They're meant to be basking in the glow of having just got engaged. This isn't meant to be a time for his crazy, oh, I'm gonna marry your mum ideas. Now, as I'm sure you recall, the reason why that's even being brought up in the first place is because in the Philippines, same-sex marriages aren't allowed. But as they sit in the immigration attorney's office explaining their predicament, Loren's alternative suggestion, the idea that they get married in Thailand and then return to the Philippines, also turns out to be a no-go.
There is currently no law in Thailand that allows same-sex marriage.
But I have friends that are married that are gay from Thailand.
That is how unprepared Loren is, but should that come as a surprise? Is it really a surprise to learn that this guy with no income, no job, no prospects, who thinks he'll magic himself a job in the Philippines despite not knowing the language and buy Faith's mum a house? Is it really a surprise that that guy has no f***ing idea what he's talking about? I mean, his entire future, his hopes and dreams hang in the balance. They stem from something he hasn't bothered to actually fact check. This is exactly what Loren's like. He wings it and hopes it'll be okay. But that's how he's found himself in the situation that he's in. Homeless, jobless, penniless. And it's left to the attorney to make an alternative suggestion.
Same-sex marriage is valid in Taiwan.
You can go to Taiwan and get married there, and then the US will recognize that so you can get your spousal visa once you get married. But unfortunately, it will not be recognized in the Philippines.
This is the worst suggestion, the worst news that Loren could have got. He doesn't want to go back to the States. That's not his aim. If he can't stay in the Philippines, then why even bother marrying Faith, is what he's probably thinking. It throws his entire plans up in the air. Suddenly, all of his half-baked ideas have gone up in smoke. He doesn't know what to do.
Under our laws, a marriage is between a man and a woman. So you, in turn, cannot get a spousal visa here or get a job here by virtue of your marriage to her.
Oh dear, Loren's hopes of living in a cheap Asian country, his hopes of exploiting Faith to get there by any means necessary, have been stopped in their tracks. Now, the lawyers, not knowing anything about Faith and Loren, try to reassure them that there is still hope. If you're in love and you want to get married, they naively say, then the easiest option for you, forget going to other countries, the easiest option for you is to go back to the States and marry her there. Why not just do that? They ask.
So to get a K1 visa, though, don't I have to make a certain amount of money? Because it's a sponsorship kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I make like no money at all. Like I can't afford rent.
Naturally, the lawyers are shocked. No doubt they're thinking to themselves, wait, you do still have enough to pay for our time now, don't you? And sensing that he probably doesn't. Hilariously, that's it, they don't have any more advice. It ends there. Like, if you're serious about Faith, go home and get a job, they tell him. It's that simple, there's nothing more to add. And yet, Loren rejects what they have to say.
This is what I didn't want to hear, because the whole point was to never leave here. I don't want to go back to Vegas. I don't want to go back to my life.
The best option will be the Fiancé visa, I think.
Now, having heard the advice of the professionals, Faith is over the moon. You see, she's never been on board with Loren's plans. She's always hoped that they would go to the States. My prospects, my earnings, my ability to help my family back in the Philippines would be so much better if I lived in the States, she tells the camera crew. And while that is undoubtedly the case, unfortunately, Faith, I wouldn't get too carried away if I were you.
This plan I don't think is going to work. And I don't want to talk to you about Faith because Faith is really happy. She wants to come to America. But I could never afford to sponsor Faith with a K1 visa. It's not going to work.
As things wrap up at the attorney's office, Loren's mood has visibly soured. He's annoyed that all of his plans have been binned. Now, tonight is still their last night together. They have just got engaged. They haven't yet had sex. Maybe tonight will be his lucky night. So with that in mind, Loren has spent the last of his money booking a fancy hotel for them both.
And tonight, I feel ready to go to the next level with Loren. Sexy time. Look at the view, it's super nice.
Oh yeah?
Now, poor Faith is on top of the world. She's just got engaged to the man she thinks she loves. She's just learnt that she might be moving to the States. And for the first time in her life, she's staying in a fancy hotel. She's experiencing a whole new life. She's the visitor, not the maid. Like, this must be a special moment for her. And yet, on the other side of the table is Loren. His mood is the complete opposite. His hopes and dreams have just been dashed. He's just learnt that his fiancé isn't the meal ticket that he was hoping for. And as a result, he's already begun to treat her differently.
Cheese. How do you say cheese?
I have to say cheese?
Yeah.
Cheese.
Isn't Faith meant to be the love of your life, Loren? Like, why is he sat there acting as if she's the most annoying person in the world? Surely he's not giving up at the first hurdle, is he? Surely true love would conquer all, wouldn't it? Well, no, of course not. This isn't love, and it never has been.
If she's not what I'm looking for, and I go to the Philippines and I meet someone else, I'm hoping I can marry just a regular girl and just have ladyboys on the side and live in the Philippines forever.
So, having just learnt that Faith won't help him achieve his dream of living in the Philippines, Loren now realises he has no use for her anymore. There's no point continuing with this charade. He'd much rather swap her for a woman that will help him get a visa. So, that being the case, he begins to act as obnoxiously as possible.
So what is your plan?
There's a plan.
You're leaving for tomorrow.
We've got a couple of friends that are like, yeah, come live with me, but I don't know which one I want to live with.
Loren's life is so depressing and it's completely self-inflicted. Because of his own shitty planning, he's returning to America with nowhere to live. But make no mistake, what he just said was very deliberate. He knows that Faith is on high alert about these so-called friends, and for good reason.
That's why I have like all the girlfriends here, is I have like my backup options, right? Because like there's a good chance this Philippines girl isn't going to work out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's been his plan all along. He's always kept a couple of friends in the background just as backup options. And understandably, now that Faith knows he will be living with a friend, she wants more details. She wants to know what exactly that entails. She wants to have a serious conversation. Only Loren is trying to push her to her breaking point.
You can do that one?
It's kind of weird.
Nope.
The way he's acting while she's trying to have a serious conversation is f***ing bizarre. Like, I can't stress it enough. From scratching his head with a knife to crushing cans with his head, it's so random, so weird. It's absolutely not what you'd expect someone to be doing when you're trying to have a serious conversation. It shows he's not taking this seriously. It's a complete lack of respect. Like, it's pretty clear he's doing this just to elicit a reaction from her. Now, Faith falls for his trick. She gives him exactly what he wants. She tells him to stop. And it's at that point that he gets worse, not better. You see, he now begins bashing his hand with the knife.
Can you stop that one?
What?
Talking with me like this. Is it normal for you?
Yes.
If we're a couple, you don't do this one.
Now, there's something about this, something about the weird way he's acting, something about the fact he's holding this knife in his hand that freaks Faith out. She's suddenly super uncomfortable. Like, I don't think this is just about the disrespect that he's showing her. It goes much deeper than that. So much so, in fact, that Faith, there and then, decides that she's had enough. After having endured all of his crap, Faith now decides she's done with him, finished. It's over. She can't take this anymore.
Can we move this one? And I am not comfortable, sorry. Sorry, and we're done.
Yeah.
And just like that, Faith stands up, gives him back his Shein ring, and walks out. Their relationship is finished. and you know what Loren does? He just mumbles, yeah.
Sorry, and we're done.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to think this must have been his plan all along. He wanted to push her to the brink. Now, the way that it's transpired does seem kind of out of the blue. It does feel very sudden. But I can't help but feel that Loren may have known a bit more than he's letting on. I mean, judging by what Faith says next, I think Faith has some past trauma associated with knives that Loren may have known about.
I'm not comfortable when you put this one, a knife. Yeah, it's a bread knife, but it's a knife. And because we are trans and we don't know who is the real one, to accept us.
Now, while she doesn't expressly say as much, I think, reading between the lines, I think Faith was made to feel unsafe by a man with a knife in the past. Keep in mind, she's alluded to the fact that her history with men has been very difficult because she's trans. So, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I get the sense that maybe she's been threatened with a knife in the past. Either way, whether correct or not, the fact is, Loren's actions, specifically the way he was playing with that knife, is one step too far for her. That is her line in the sand, and for once, thankfully, she seems absolutely adamant.
You know, I'm shaking actually. I'm not expecting for this. I don't want to see it anymore.
Did Loren have any intention of hurting her with that knife? No, he didn't. Of course he didn't. But there are 101 million other reasons for Faith not to be with this man. So, frankly, I'll take what I can get. If that's what it's going to take to get her running for the hills, then I'm just glad that we got to that stage. It's been, what, like 24 hours since he proposed to her? Forget the fact this is, without doubt, the shortest engagement we've ever seen on this show. Even then, it lasted 24 hours too long. He's a vile, vile man. And as soon as he's realised he won't be able to use Faith, he's engineered a scenario to push her to her breaking point.